Hello, BookTube. How's it going? Welcome back to Reading in the Dark. Byron here. Happy holidays, everybody. It is Christmas Eve, and I am here to talk about all of the presents that I purchased for me. And what that means in my world is that I'm going to do my one physical book haul of the year. It's a little awkward for me to do physical book hauls in my normal studio because of the lighting and everything just gets really, really weird. I usually don't even hold them up. I just say, I bought this on hardcover, and you just have to believe me. What I thought I would do, since there are so few of them, relatively speaking, for many people, there would be so many more, is that I would just do one standalone physical book haul video, and that this video would be the one that I film, not in the studio, not there, but to film it just like by the tree here, in real space. So this is my setup for this video alone. You have no idea. I have like destroyed my living room. I have like moved everything around. My roommate came home and he was like, So it's crazy and it's fun and it's something that's going to happen once a year only. As you know, if you have frequented my channel at all, I generally read ebooks, but I very rarely buy physical books, unless it happens to be December 2018. Because apparently in December 2018, all of that changed. I bought as many books in December as I bought throughout the rest of the year combined. And I haven't even counted them. There are 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 books that I bought in January through November on paper. And then in December, I bought 11, 17 throughout the year, and 11 just in December. And that doesn't count the couple that I have on order that haven't arrived yet. So I decided, hey, you know what? I'm just going to do a book haul video for every book that I bought in 2018. So I'm sitting here by the tree. It's Christmas Eve. I'm going to not unwrap these books because although those videos are adorable, what a waste of paper. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. But before I do it, Philip needs to go out. He just keeps whining, and this is what happens whenever I start a video. He says, oh, Byron's paying attention to the camera now. Time for me to need something. So he needs to go out, and I'm going to let him out, and I will be right back. Okay, I made it. I'm back. The dog is outside. The door is cracked so he can get back in on his own. And I have my favorite Christmas mug with a lovely alcoholic version of peppermint hot chocolate in it, and I'm ready to go. So I guess I'll just like dive right in. So this is like Christmas. Look at all of the books that I bought for myself. Now, of course, the vast majority of these I haven't read. Don't judge me. Most of you are worse than I am. Okay, also, by the way, be merry. All right, so the first book that I bought, this was in March of 2018. The first book that I purchased, and I bought all of these, well, not all these, I bought most of these online, and that is Elsa Lanchester herself by Elsa Lanchester. This memoir is of an actress. She was the bride of Frankenstein, which is what she's most famous for. She was married to Charles Laughton, and he was a more famous actor than she was, and he was a closeted homosexual, but he was not closeted to her, and so they continued their marriage because they loved one another, and the story of their relationship and both of their careers is really fascinating. This has been republished for the first time, and it has a black and white cover of her as the bride of Frankenstein on the cover, and so you can pick that up now, and it'll be a lot easier to find than this was. The Abyss by Orson Scott Card. This is a novelization of the movie by James Cameron. This came out concurrently with the film, and a lot of people think this is sort of a cut above the normal quality of novelizations. So this was recommended to me by a friend of mine, and I bought this in March, and I need to read it because if I have this for a year and don't read it, I'll feel bad. So moving on to July. The next books that I hauled are the hardcover editions of Jeri Taylor's Mosaic, which tells the backstory of the lead character on Star Trek Voyager, Captain Janeway, and this is Pathways by Jeri Taylor, and this tells the backstories of all of the main characters on Star Trek Voyager. These both are books that I had, and I only ever read this one, and then I lost them both. The first book in a new series by William Shatner and Jeff Rovin called Zero G. This is a science fiction story, and it is about sort of like an FBI investigator guy in the future who goes to the moon for something. There's terrorism, possibly, something along those lines. Prime Directive. This is by Judith and Garfield Reeves Stevens. This tells the story of the crew of the Enterprise after Kirk loses command because of a horrible accident. I don't know, I feel like it actually has something to say, and it sort of continues that sci-fi tradition of being relevant, even while telling a story within the constructs of its own universe. The Lost Years by J.M. Dillard. This tells the story of what happened to the main characters of Star Trek in between the end of the series and the beginning of the film, the first film. And it is okay. I think the character of Dr. McCoy is very odd in this. He's like an alcoholic and a whiner, and he sort of sucks. Some of the stuff with Spock was interesting, but this is not my favorite. Spock's World by Diane Duane. I don't know anything about this. I remember reading the blurb at one point. It has something to do with Spock trying to keep the planet Vulcan from seceding from the Federation, I think. I've heard good things about it. I've never read it. It's a very old book. It was published in 1988. The next book that I hauled is a book that I just reviewed a couple nights ago, and the review is not up yet, but it will be soon, and this is McGlue by Ottessa Moshfegh. This was shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize. It is moving, and it's a story about a sailor who is accused of killing his best friend and doesn't believe that his friend is dead and does not believe that he could possibly have done it, but doesn't remember anything because he has a long history of alcoholism. This is a fascinating character study. I really enjoyed it, and my review will be up very, very soon. Okay, so now moving on to August. The Southern Reach Trilogy by Jeff Vandermeer. This book is called Area X, the Southern Reach Trilogy, and it contains the volumes Annihilation, Authority, and Acceptance by Jeff Vandermeer. Big, chunky, pretty, matte finish cover. If you don't know anything about this series, it is sort of what the movie Annihilation was culled from, and I say that because the movie incorporates elements from all three books, but it is not a faithful recreation of any of the three of them. It is sort of its own thing, and I really enjoyed the movie, but it is a different animal, and I really loved this series, especially the first book. It's one of those books that makes you feel like you're losing your mind and going crazy right along with the characters because of how it's written, and it's brilliant. So then in September, from work, there was a stack of books that people didn't want anymore, and among them, calling to me, a little book called Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. I have never read any of these books. I have so many friends that love them and think that I'm an alien because I haven't read them. For whatever reason, I just never did, and now it's finally going to happen in 2019. I don't know when, but I have a feeling I'm going to do them in like a readathon because I'll probably enjoy it, and then I'll probably just want to keep on reading in the series and not stop. And this book doesn't need any explanation. I'm going to take a drink of my alcoholic hot chocolate. In October, I had a birthday, and on my birthday, one of my best friends gifted me the Philip Pullman His Dark Materials trilogy, which includes the books The Golden Compass, The Subtle Knife, and The Amber Spyglass. This is a fantasy series. It concerns children in a magical land. I'm not going to read anything about them before I read them. I'm just going to pick them up and read them. They're going to whisk me away into a wonderful fairyland of magic and wonder, and so that was redundant, and I'm going to move on. I'm just going to read them blind, and I think it's going to be fun. Not blind. I'm going to read them without knowing anything about them. I'm going to read these books. This is the complete 3-book collection of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and Scary Stories 3, More Tales to Chill Your Bones. Collected and edited by Alvin Schwartz from Folklore and illustrated by Stephen Gamble, and they're amazing. If you haven't read these, by the way, they're still scary and spooky no matter your age. So, those are all of the physical books that I hauled between January and November. So here I go. I'm going to try and do that thing. Okay. Okay, we got that thumbnail. Then, oh God. Oh, why did I do that? Whew. Now, everything that remains, I hauled in the last 21 days. And that's a scary, disturbing trend. The first book that I hauled, ooh, they're all so far away. Fire and Blood. By George R.R. Martin. This book is a chunker. This tells the story of the Targaryen family and their dynasty, and this is set 300 years before Game of Thrones. So this is a fake history by George R.R. Martin. So it's written like a history book, which means there's not lots of dialogue or anything. The end papers, okay? Beautiful. We got illustrations and artwork throughout the book that looks like this. Okay, so I think that's Aegon the Conqueror. It is a beautiful volume. It is just the money that exists in the land of publishing books with George R.R. Martin these days is much. When this came out, I said, wait, I didn't even know that was happening. I knew I wanted to have it in a hardcover edition because illustrations, I guess. I can't imagine that those illustrations are either in the ebook, if it exists, or if they are represented very well. I also feel like when you're reading a really long book, although ironically that is one of the best use cases for an ebook, it's also a situation in which it can be even more daunting to read the book because you have no idea how far you are through the book. I mean, you look at the percentage and you know, but you can't see it and feel it. So I sort of feel like I'm going to be glad to have this literally sitting on a pillow in my lap because of how long it is, because I will feel more proud of myself as the pages go by. While I was in Books A Million, I thought, ooh, what was that book that had parts of a graphic novel in it that I really wanted to read? Oh, right, it was called The 5 Stages of Andrew Brawley by Sean David Hutchinson. This is YA contemporary drama excitement, and it is called The 5 Stages of Andrew Brawley. And Philip wanted to say hello. He's going to be in the video now. Hi. He wants to read the book. He wants to eat the book, is what he wants to do. This tells the story of a young man who loses his family in a terrible car accident and then recuperates in the hospital and then lives in the hospital and then meets another young man who is brought in with terrible burns. He sees his own life and his own story in his mind as sort of a graphic novel that he's imagining. And so I didn't want to read this on an ebook either. I thought I should probably read this on paper. No, it's not time for the tennis ball. Oh my goodness. Okay. Quick while he's gone. The next book that I hauled while I was in Books A Million, because I was given a discount and then an extra discount and a gift card, because they wanted me to spend money, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I've never read this book, and the world is going to judge me harshly if I don't read it before I'm older than I am now. So the next book that I hauled, I ordered online. And I didn't realize that when I opted for the hardcover edition, I was also opting for the large print edition, so I don't know if I'm going to read this edition, if I'm going to return it. This is Born with Teeth, a memoir by Kate McGlue, who is the actress who portrayed Captain Janeway on Star Trek Voyager, Mary Ryan on Ryan's Hope, and she plays Red on Orange is the New Black. She's an amazing actress. I've seen her on stage as well. She's just cool. Her story is pretty fascinating. I've seen her interviewed about this book, and I really wanted to know more, but I didn't realize that it was a large print edition. So I've never even seen one of these before, and that's large print. The next book that I hauled is a book that I had already read and I already had on my Kindle, but I wanted to have it on my shelf because it's one of my favorite books of the year. The Flicker of Old Dreams by Susan Henderson. This tells the story of a young woman who lives with her alcoholic father in a small sort of dying town in Montana, and she is an embalmer for a funeral home. And a man comes back to town who hasn't been there since he was a kid, since he was involved in an accident that shut down the grain elevator that basically killed the town. And she gets to know him, and the two sort of social pariahs in the town become closer, and she sort of analyzes her life and what she's doing and what's next, and unflinching look at the death industry and what death really is, and what we look at and what we refuse to look at. And it's written so beautifully. The writing is basically poetry. I read this in about a day and a half or 2 days, absolutely adored it. I found out about it on Writers on Writing, the podcast, and fell in love with it. So this is The Flicker of Old Dreams, and you should read it. And this is Bram Stoker's Dracula. This is a Books of Wonder series edition of Dracula, which is illustrated by Barry Moser, and he's a wood carver and illustrator. This is like what the illustrations look like. And I think they're amazing. This book is also just really, really beautiful. It has red edges only on the top, like someone was bleeding on it. Red printing at the tops of the pages. The chapter headings are written in red. Everything about this edition is just like classy and extra, and I had to have it. The next book that I hauled was also related to Dracula, but it wasn't Dracula proper. This is a collection of short stories that are related to vampires or Dracula in particular, and it is called The Dracula Book of Great Vampire Stories, collected by Leslie Shepard. This includes Dracula's Guest, which is an excised early chapter of Dracula by Bram Stoker, and Carmilla by Sheridan Le Fanu, and several other stories that are all related to vampires. I think these are all going to be fascinating, and I love that they're collected in this edition with really cool little details like that. I'm going to really enjoy this, and I think I'm going to save this until October. Sort of a sad story. So I hauled the first book in the Song of Ice and Fire series by George R.R. Martin, and I'm having to get a refund on this because, so this is the copy of A Game of Thrones. Fine. It's used. It was listed in very good condition. It's a little, like, shifty in the spine, and I thought, well, that's not great, but maybe it'll be okay. Then I opened it. We're not fine. See, look at this. Coming apart completely at the spines, pulling away. Now, this is a big chunky book. When they're new, they're $35, and I only paid, I think, $11 or $12 for this copy, but it said it was in very good condition, and that's, you know, that's not what very good looks like. Then I went into Books A Million one more time. I went in looking for A Christmas Carol, and then I ended up buying this, which is a collection of all 5 of the Christmas stories of Charles Dickens, which includes A Christmas Carol, The Chimes, The Cricket on the Hearth, The Battle of Life, and The Haunted Man. Quite a nice edition. It has some of the original illustrations from way back in the day. So, like, for instance, in The Chimes, which I just read and was really interesting, by the way, it begins with this really elaborate centerfold of this artwork from back in the day. And then starts with this illustrated first letter, T, for the beginning of the story. So this edition is really, really pretty, and I really like having it. But is that all I bought when I was in there? No. I bought other things as well. The Bone Clocks by David Mitchell. This book is apparently twisty, turny, confusing, and trippy, mind-bending, and crazy. And I really enjoy David Mitchell's writing of Slade House. I just didn't love the ending of that actual story. And so I saw this nice hardcover edition. It was the only copy they had, so I picked this up. And now if I ever do one of those tags that says, do you have a book with a clock on the cover, I can say, yep. The last physical book that I hauled that I have in my possession right now is a book that I read the first chapter of as a Kindle sample, fell in love with, and then promptly forgot about. It was a no-brainer once I saw it on the shelf, and this is A Piece of the World by Christina Baker Klein. To Christina Olson, the entire world was her family's remote farm in the small coastal town of Cushing, Maine. Born in the home her family had lived in for generations, and increasingly incapacitated by illness, Christina seemed destined for a small life. Instead, for more than 20 years, she was host and inspiration for the artist Andrew Wyeth and became the subject of one of the best-known paintings of the 20th century, Christina's World. Now, the cover is mainly just the painting minus Christina, because she's in the painting crawling towards the house. And the paper, I don't know if you can tell, it's just got this cloth-like, almost Tyvek sort of satiny finish to it. And then the end papers have this really pretty sort of linen-y texture to them, which I probably can't see, but of course it also has deckled edges. And I am just super excited to read this. Those are the book haul for December. Let's try and turn them. These are the books that I bought in December. What a fun tradition. That is it. That is the last physical book that I hauled in December, the last physical book that I hauled in 2018 and actually have. However, so there are 3 books that I have purchased recently that I don't have in my hands yet. And the first of that is New Suns. That's the sci-fi anthology that I've talked about quite a bit. That is being released on paperback on March 12th, but I pre-ordered it. This is an anthology collection of science fiction, fantasy, speculative fiction from authors of color, and it's edited by Nisi Shawl. The last 2 books of my haul that I don't have in my hands yet are one book that I have read, and that is Eileen by Ottessa Moshfegh. Ottessa Moshfegh has quickly become one of my favorite authors, and the only book of hers left for me to read that I don't have is the last book that I hauled, and that is Homesick for Another World by Ottessa Moshfegh. This is her short story anthology. Both of these books are coming to me on hardcover. I don't have them yet. So those are all of the books that I hauled in 2018. So that's 31. That's it. I bought 31 physical books in 2018. For me, that's a big deal. And I will have you know that the books that I bought this year, especially the books that I bought in December, make up, in large part, the majority of the books that are on my shelves. Because of this year, and especially because of December, I'm going to have to buy bookshelves now. So those are my books. That's my book haul for 2018. Oop. We're going askew. Be merry. That is my book haul for 2018. I'm sort of ridiculous for putting it all in one video, but that's just the way I am. I like to be extra. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you loved this video, consider hitting the subscribe button and tapping the bell icon so that you'll be notified when new videos are posted. I appreciate you all being here. I hope you're all having a wonderful holiday. And until next time, I will be here in the dark reading. Bye, guys.